Welcome back, welcome back. There's tension once again in the Balkans. It wouldn't be the Balkans, would it, if there wasn't tension? The tense relationship between Kosovo and Serbia rumbles on, but much of the focus right now is on a border dispute between Croatia and Slovenia, a row which has new potency now that Slovenia is a member both of NATO and of the EU, and Croatia is not, but has urgent ambitions to join both clubs too. With the added spice both of the global credit crisis and of the spectre of the Russian gas dispute, this all adds up to a rather worrying time for our next guest. Joining me now from Ljubljana is the Slovenian President, Danilo Turk. Tell me, Mr. President, how bad is the situation in terms of the effect of this global credit crisis on Slovenia? How does it affect you?
Initially, our impression was that we'll be able to avoid the major effect, but now the most recent figures show that the entire Eurozone is likely to suffer, and the latest judgment is that we'll have negative growth this year, and this is a problem.
And who do you blame for this economic crisis? Everybody equally, or America? What do you see as the responsible parties?
Well, I would say that there is a dysfunction in the global financial system, that the international financial system, including the International Monetary Fund, have to be fixed. And there are other things that have to be done. It's difficult to judge that anybody in particular is to blame because the problem is global. It started in the center of the global economy, and I think we have to be also careful to the periphery because the worst effects may be felt in the third world, which means that the warnings of the UN Secretary General about a potential humanitarian disaster in the south is also something we have to be cognizant of.
And the great G20 conference, a lot is being spoken about that, but do you think, and of course Slovenia as a member of the EU is represented there, but do you think that a one-day conference can achieve very much, or maybe it can start something? What do you think? Doesn't seem very long to solve a huge crisis.
This depends on the quality of preparations. As we know, there were several months of discussions, including very intense discussions in recent weeks. We don't have a clear picture whether the conference will succeed or not, but we are hopeful. We believe that the conference has to confront the problems head-on. There should be no papering over. There should be some hard questions put and some good answers provided. So we are hopeful, but so far it's hard to say whether this will be the adequate and very much expected success.
And do you feel, Mr. President, at this point that your position economically is stronger as part of the Eurozone and the European bloc and so on than it would have been if you hadn't joined those? Do you feel grateful for that protection?
Yes, we feel that our situation is stronger as a result of our membership in the Eurozone. This has had a stabilizing effect throughout and has protected us against currency fluctuations and other possible negative effects. Our economy also very much depends on our exports to the countries of Eurozone. Slovenia is exporting close to 70% of its GDP, and much of that goes to the Eurozone countries. So we are very closely connected with them in any case, and the euro as a common currency is helpful.
And in terms of all of the world trade and your exports and so on, protectionism, of course, is an important issue. And last week, President Sarkozy announced that the assembly of some Renault cars would be shifted from Slovenia to, in fact, to France. How will that affect your economy? Will it affect it at all?
Well, President Sarkozy subsequently explained that this will not have an effect on the current production levels in Slovenia, so we rely on that. Now, it is understandable that each country tries to find a balance between the necessary policy measures to protect the stability of its own economy, and coordinated measures at the level of the European Union. This is a complicated process, but so far it has been managed fairly well, and we are confident that the European Union will be able to resist protectionist pressures, and we hope that this resistance will be effective globally. I personally would like G20 summit to talk about restarting of Doha round and global trade negotiations. I think that's quite vital for future economic outlook of the world.
And what about Slovenia and Croatia, Mr. President? The issues go on since the collapse of Yugoslavia back in the 1990s. Is there any sign of a dispute, or do you think you will have to block them from joining the EU because they won't concede on the waters of the Adriatic?
Right now, we are hopeful that the effort of the European Commission will succeed. The European Commission has offered a good proposal for mediation between the two countries. We believe that that provides hope for a creative and helpful solution of the problem. And since this problem can be solved, technically speaking, within months, we hope that Croatia also will take the proposals by the European Commission seriously, and that this proposal will be taken advantage of, and that will help to resolve the problem.
So you think you will see Croatia in the European Union within 12 months?
Well, this is hard to say, because there are quite a few other problems that Croatia has in its cooperation with the International Criminal Tribunal for former Yugoslavia, in law and order issues at home, and other issues which will have to be sorted out before entry into the European Union. But in essence, Slovenia would very much like to see Croatia as a member of the European Union, and also other countries of southeastern Europe, Serbia, Montenegro, Bosnia and Macedonia.
And everybody says that, Mr. President, that Slovenia has solved the problem of the move from a communist economy to a capitalist economy more smoothly and more efficiently than anyone else of the 10 Eastern European countries or whatever. To what do you attribute this triumph?
There were two critical factors. First is Slovenia was fairly well developed at the time when the transition started, and we had very well established business ties with the businesses in countries like Germany, Italy, France, and other major European Union countries. So that helped a lot. And secondly, we have opted for a gradualist approach in our transition. Slovenians, we are very pragmatic people. We didn't like the ideas of shock therapy or any major upheaval. And the governments of 1990s were quite capable of avoiding this sort of effects. So all in all, this process went smoothly, and we are quite pleased with its results. Now, obviously, we have some serious questions to address now, like, for example, pension system or healthcare system, which have to be improved.
But it's an impressive story. We thank you very much, President Turk, for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you in the studio here in the future as well. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure, Sir David.